All right, let's talk about something we all do probably every single day, that constant nagging urge to compare ourselves to other people. We're going to do a deep dive into why we do it, and believe it or not, our guide for this very modern problem is a brilliant paper from way back in 1954. You know the feeling, right? You're scrolling through your phone, you see a vacation photo, and bam, that little twinge of envy hits. Or maybe it's that drive to keep up with a coworker's performance. Or just wondering if your opinion on a movie is the right one. It feels automatic, doesn't it? Well, that's because there's a deep, deep psychological reason we're all wired this way. So the key to unlocking this whole mystery comes from a psychologist named Leon Festinger. Back in the 50s, he came up with this incredibly powerful idea he called a theory of social comparison processes. He basically gave us the rulebook for understanding ourselves through the eyes of other people. Okay, so at the very heart of his work is this idea, social comparison theory. Festinger argued that we have this basic, almost biological drive to get an accurate read on ourselves, to figure out where we stand. And get this, he wasn't talking about some casual curiosity. He said this drive is as fundamental as hunger or thirst. It's something we have to do. And here it is, his first big idea, straight from the source. This is the bedrock of the whole theory. Festinger's logic was that holding incorrect opinions or having a totally skewed sense of your own abilities could be, in his words, punishing or even fatal. So yeah, we're hardwired to seek clarity. The real question is, where do we find it when there's no obvious answer? Well, that brings us right to his second big point. I mean, how do you really know if you're a good public speaker? Or if your political views are sound? There's no stopwatch or thermometer for these things. So when a clear, physical, non-social yardstick is missing, we turn to the next best thing, other people. They become our mirror. They're the ruler we use to measure ourselves.
Okay, but here's the thing. We don't compare ourselves to just anyone, right? That would be total chaos. Festinger realized we're actually pretty picky about whose reflection we choose to look at. So who makes the cut?
This is where it gets really interesting. Festinger's third hypothesis says we instinctively look for people who are, well, a lot like us. Think about it. A brand new chess player isn't going to compare their game to a grandmaster. That's useless, right? It wouldn't give them any real feedback. Instead, they look at other beginners to get a real, honest, and stable sense of where they're at.
And without that comparison, our sense of self just goes all over the place. It's totally unstable. Imagine you're a runner, but you only ever run by yourself. One day you do a 7-minute mile. The next, it's 6:30. Are you fast? Are you slow? You have absolutely no idea. Your whole sense of your ability just swings wildly back and forth because the numbers don't mean anything without context.
All right, so Festinger digs even deeper. He points out something really crucial. He realized that the way we size up our abilities, like running, is completely different from how we size up our opinions, like our political views. So when it comes to our abilities, Festinger said there's this unidirectional drive upward. Especially in Western cultures, right? We're always pushing to be better, faster, smarter. There's always room to improve. But with opinions, the goal isn't really to be better, it's to be correct. We want validation. We're looking for other people to agree with us, for that feeling of uniformity. And that's why, it's way easier to change your mind about something than it is to suddenly start running a 5-minute mile. Okay, so what happens when things don't line up? What do we do when we look in that social mirror and find that the people we're comparing ourselves to have a completely different opinion or are on a totally different level? Well, that creates this really uncomfortable psychological tension. And to get rid of that tension, Festinger said we basically have 3 moves we can make, and we usually don't even realize we're doing it. Option 1, you change yourself. You adjust your opinion, or you'll work harder to improve your skill to match the group. Option 2, you try to change them. You try to persuade them to see things your way. And if that doesn't work, there's option 3, you change the group. You just decide, you know what, these people are too different for me, and you basically kick them out of your comparison circle. And that third option, redefining the group, that's where things can get, well, a little nasty. As Festinger points out here, when someone's opinion threatens our own sense of being correct, this is where hostility comes in. We don't just stop comparing ourselves to them. We often put them down, we criticize them, just to make them seem so different that they're not even worth comparing to anymore. With abilities, it's often a little less personal. We might just classify someone as out of our league and move on. So if you zoom out for a second, you start to see that this isn't just about our own little internal struggles. This very personal, individual drive we all have has massive implications for how all of us live together.
I mean, this basic need to know where we stand is one of the invisible forces that shapes our entire society. It explains why we form groups with people who are like us. It's why we create social ladders and hierarchies. It's all to manage these comparisons. And the crazy part is, this very act of splitting up into all these little groups is what allows a huge, complex society to have so much variety without just completely falling apart.
And that brings us right back to today. Remember, Festinger wrote this in 1954. He had no idea about the internet, about social media, where our comparison group isn't just our town or our office anymore. It's a potentially infinite, algorithm-fueled feed of everyone on the planet. His theory is more relevant now than ever, and it leaves us with this huge, critical question for our time. In an age of endless digital mirrors, how do you choose your reflection wisely?